Hi everyone, welcome back to day 7 of my 25 days of Christmas. I hope you have been enjoying the last week of projects. Can't believe I'm already a week into this. It's been a little crazy, but I'm enjoying every second of it. So I hope you are enjoying as well. If you have not been kind of following along and have no idea what I am talking about, I am doing 25 days of Christmas is what I'm calling it. And basically I am posting a new project every single day up through Christmas. So I hope you can stick around and see all of the fun stuff that I have in store because we really are just getting started. So today we are going to be focusing on, I called this kind of Curvy Christmas because we're going to be using the Curvy Christmas stamp set, but we are really, a lot of creating this card is a lot of die cutting. And so we're going to be really featuring the curvy dies, or one of them really, and creating this really fun little look here. So I hope you guys enjoy this one. It's actually really easy to make. It looks a little more difficult than it actually is. It's really not hard at all. So before we jump into it, I just wanted to remind you or let you know, if you have not been around before, that all of the products that I'm about to talk to you about can be purchased 24/7 just by going to littlemooncreation.stampinup.net. And there's also a coordinating blog post, which is the first link in the description box below, that has all of the product numbers, paper sizes, all of that good stuff. So just wanted to throw that out there so you are aware as you follow along. So let's jump into creating this project. So as I said, a big piece of, sorry, my camera was looking all weird. A big piece of this project is the die cutting, and it's really die cutting this little middle piece right here. So I want to go ahead and do that first because I will say it's the most complicated piece of this process. It's really not complicated at all once you kind of understand how we're doing it and what exactly we're doing, but it can be a little complicated to start off with. So I'm going to zoom in just a smidge and I'm going to show you guys what exactly we're going to do. So again, exact paper sizes are in the description box in the coordinating blog post. The link is in the description box. That's what I'm trying to say. But here we have 3 pieces of the, what is this? The Classic Christmas Designer Series paper. So we have 3 pieces of that, and this is the green tree pattern. I just thought it looked really nice, and I think it works really well with the color scheme for this card. And then I have 2 pieces of Whisper White. So if I were to take these pieces and take the middle DSP piece out, and I'm just setting it off to the side for a second, we're not getting rid of it, you kind of break these into 2 stacks, right? You have DSP and Whisper White and DSP and Whisper White. We're going to work with these in these little groups because it's going to make what we're going to do a little bit easier. So if you look at, and I'm going to try to show you as gently as possible with moving this ribbon, you can see I have DSP and then Whisper White, and they both have the same kind of curve in them. They both have the same piece of the die. So that's why we're going to work with them in the 2 different groups, because it's the same for these bottom 2 pieces down here also. And then the middle piece has its own little thing going on, which is why we set that off to the side for 1 second. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little groups, set them off to the side. I'm going to bring in my cut and emboss machine, mainly because it's easiest to kind of get this prepped and lined up on the machine itself. So I'm going to grab all of my plates. So I have 1, 2, and a 3 plate. So I'm going to take the 2 larger, so you have a larger group and a smaller group. I'm going to take the larger group, and the trees are obviously going a certain direction. I'm going to put my piece of Whisper White at the top of my piece of Designer Series paper. So I have a little bit of Designer Series paper hanging at the bottom here. I'm going to set that down onto my cutting plate, and then I'm going to take one of the dies from the Curvy dies set. I'm just using the one that has dots. There are 2 that have this little curve in them. It really doesn't matter which you use because we're not actually going to be cutting out this pattern. So when I do this, it's going to be very important that my dots that I have, or here, I'll grab the other one really fast. Or if you're going to use this one, you want to make sure the design is always at the top. Always make sure your design is at the top because we don't actually want this design on our project. So that's just the very important piece of this. So what I'm going to do, and I actually think I'm going to turn it this way because it just fits a little bit easier onto my piece. So I'm making sure my dots are at the top. So because I turned it, my dots are to the left. That's basically the top. I have my 2 pieces lined up and have my little piece of my hangover of designer series paper at the bottom. Again, my dots are at the top. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the very, very far end of this, and I'm going to kind of hold down my pieces of designer series or my pieces of cardstock. Now, if they wiggle around a bit and they're not lined up perfectly, it's okay. You just want the general flow or the general piece of the die to be the same for each of these. So I'm just going to set it down like that. I'm going to put my top plate on, and then I'm going to crank this through. Oh, am I not lined up very well? It would help if I had the plates lined up well. Okay. There we go. How come this is not going through? What is our deal today? Actually, now that I look at this, I do want to scoot it over just a smidge to make sure it fully cuts. There. Let's see if that works. I don't know why my plates aren't going through. That was very, very strange. And then I like to take it back through a second time just because we have those 2 layers of paper. I want to make sure that it cuts through both layers. And it did. Perfect. So now what I'm going to do, and I'm just going to show you guys. So if I now line up the paper and have the designer series paper hang over at the top, you get this kind of look that I have on my sample. See that? So that's how we're going to do that. So now they look really, really nice and almost like you cut them out together because you did. So, and see, because I did the dots at the top, now the dots are on my leftover piece and not on my actual piece that we're going to be using. So now we're going to do basically the same thing, except this time we are going to have the designer series paper on. So this is the other stack that we had, I should say that. The designer series paper is on top and the Whisper White is on the bottom, and the overhang of the Whisper White is on the bottom as well. Okay, I'm going to put these down just like that. Again, my dots are at the top, and I'm just doing this sideways because it fits better on the platform. I want this to be kind of like this. And it doesn't really matter how you do it. It's totally up to you. But I want this kind of like swoosh down. I think I really like that. Is that where I want it? Yeah, we'll scoot it over just a smidge more and maybe turn it a little bit. Yeah, that looks good. Okie dokie. So I'm going to stick this in. And again, you can kind of play with this and just see what you like and what you don't like. It's really up to you. There's no like right or wrong way to do it. Bring this back through because again, I want to make sure both pieces were cut nicely. And now when I line these up, you can see it looks really, really nice, just like that. Ooh, sorry, my computer is not muted. There we go. That should be good now. Okay, so we have those pieces done. Now for our final piece, which is the middle one, I'm just going to cut this, and it's kind of, you can do it however you want. I'm going to do it kind of like this. Oops, see, and I almost messed that up. So make sure your dots are on the top. And I want this to cut in quite a bit because this is where our sentiment is going to go. So I'm actually going to pull this down quite a bit. I'm going to go right about there. And I kind of moved it over so that it's like really where it kind of droops down in the die. So yeah, I mean, again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You just kind of go with it and whatever happens, happens. Okay, so you guys, that was the most difficult part of this entire card. I promise you, it is super easy from here. So now we're just going to grab all of our little pieces, and if I stack these back up, oops, see, okay, so sometimes this, oh, I can't, I should probably show you. So sometimes this happens where this piece right here, I want it to be shown a little bit more than what I had there. And all you have to do is kind of move things around and play with it. So it's really not that big of a deal. And actually, I kind of like having just a little bit of it shown. I kind of like that look. So that may be what we do. Because we have to remember we're also going to put our greeting, our sentiment right there. So maybe that's what I end up doing. So I'm going to take the middle piece out again, and then I'm just going to attach these together. So I'm going to just use some regular old Stampin' Seal, and I'm going to just start adhering these together. So for my larger group, I'm going to take the Whisper White piece, because this is the piece that goes on top, and I'm aligning them at the bottom because I know that they're all going to meet at the bottom. Just like so. And then I'm going to take my other group and I'm going to take my Designer Series paper, because this is the piece that's on top. Okay. And I'm going to line these up as well. Okay. And so now I can kind of see what this looks like. And so one thing that would be really, really fun is this is probably a good size, and I don't have a gift card right next to me. I'd have to go fiddle around to find one, but this could be a really good size for a gift card. So if you just adhered the sides and left an opening, you could put like maybe a gift card in here. You may have to make it a little bit wider, but it is a really nice size. So what I think I'm going to do, let's see how that looks. So I do like the look of that. I just want to double check and make sure that I'm going to have enough room to put my sentiment there, and I will. So now I'm going to adhere this piece of Designer Series paper to my other piece. And again, this is just like a guide for how you can do something like this. If you want to do different paper sizes, different paper, obviously, different dies, different ways you put them together, go for it. You absolutely can. And now we're going to take this piece and we're going to adhere this piece as well. So this is just a lot of putting pieces of paper together. It's not super crazy. It's not anything, it's not anything super difficult. It's really just putting pieces of paper together. And then it just turns out where you get like these really nice, pretty like peaks and valleys. I think it's gorgeous. One thing that I will say is don't get too caught up in making it 100% perfect. I don't know if you guys can truly see on camera, but I have a bit of an overhang here from one of the pieces. So I'm just going to take my snips and just really quickly cut that little overhang off, and it looks perfect. So don't get too caught up in making sure your pieces are put together just perfectly, because you can fix it really, really easily if it's not 100% lined up. So now I'm going to take my Early Espresso ink and I'm going to use this stamp that says Merry Christmas. I really, really like this sentiment. It's just really, really nice and simple, and it works for a ton of different uses. And when I say uses, obviously it's a Christmas stamp, so it's for Christmas cards, but you can use it in so many different ways. It's a really, really good one to have. And really a lot of the stuff in the Curvy Christmas stamp set they're all very, very versatile. So definitely check that out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm really just going to put this card together. So I have a couple more pieces of Whisper White and another piece of the Designer Series paper, and we're just going to layer these up together. So I'm going to take my Designer Series paper and I'm going to adhere this down to my piece of Whisper White. Okay, then I'm going to take this piece of Whisper White and I'm going to, I'm going to put it right in the middle. That looks about right. Okay, then we are going to take this little piece that we just made and we're going to adhere this into the middle of this piece of Whisper White. Just like so. And because we have all of this paper stacked up, it gives it like a little tiny bit of dimension. I don't know, I'm trying to see if you guys can even see that, but it gives it just a bit of dimension because of all of the paper that we have stacked up, and I really, really like that. So now I'm going to take my card base. This is Early Espresso cardstock, just a standard size card base. I'm going to take this full piece now, maybe if I can get some seal going here, and I'm going to take this whole thing and I'm going to adhere this to my card base. I really like the Early Espresso as the card base for this because it's so dark. It kind of gives everything, like it makes everything else pop. I really, really like it. So you could absolutely, oops, let me get this in frame. You could absolutely leave this like this. I actually think I'm going to leave this one as is. For this one, you can see I added a little bow. So this, I used the Flowers for Every Season. I think this is like the ribbon combo pack or something like that. But there's this really nice white, Whisper White ribbon in there. And so I just use that to make a sweet little bow because I thought it added a little something extra. But I really like the look of it without the bow also. So the choice is really yours. You can kind of decide to do it however you want. Wow, why do I keep moving these out of frame? I don't know, guys. I don't know. Okay, I'm struggling today, apparently. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that. That is the project for today, day 7 of our 25 days of Christmas. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this one. As always, like I was saying before, you can find all of these products that I have talked about 24/7 just by going to littlemooncreation.stampinup.net. I really, really appreciate when you guys purchase from my store. It helps my business. It helps me continue doing what I love to do. And so I really appreciate it. And I love every single one of you for supporting me in my little endeavor through Stampin' Up and through Little Moon Creation. It means a lot when you guys help support my little business. So also you can find all of the specifics in the coordinating blog post. You can just visit littlemooncreation.com for all of my fun stuff. And if you've missed some of the prior days, you can go there to check out all of the other projects that I've been doing so far. So I hope you guys are having a fantastic day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!